Just getting me some fuel this morning before I start the day. I got me a bunch of parts in the back of the truck. First stop is Buc-ee's here in Denton. Gotta go get me something to drink here. Alright, so today is the last working day of 2023, for me at least. I did a video like this last year, last working day of 2022, and after I posted that video, I kind of made the decision that I'm gonna start doing the YouTube thing full-time and take it more seriously. So I did, and then it's been doing pretty good this year. I've been posting every week, or sometimes twice a week, posting a lot of shorts. So back here to this machine. So if you saw that video, last working day of 2022, I'll link it. I was actually working on this same machine, different problem, but same machine, so I thought that was kind of cool. Also, it's a Cat 336, and I'm wearing the perfect sweatshirt to work on this machine. So I looked at this machine yesterday. They let it go. This is an IT4 engine. So they let it go all the way to service lockout. So the regen's locked out. You need ET. So I got ET. I got the Cat comm adapter. It also needs a fuel pump solenoid. I checked this out maybe a week or so ago, and the solenoid was messed up. So I just taped it up and it worked fine, but now it needs a solenoid, and I got the part. They didn't have the part, so I had to order the part. So let's see what else we can do. I also have a step that I have to work on, a loader, which there's another job site that's like a half mile down the road here. So I gotta go over there after this and work on that step. So I diagnosed this probably a week, 10 days ago, but this solenoid right here is for the low pressure fuel pump. So low pressure fuel pump right there, and then you could probably see there's a hose, a fuel hose right there. That goes up to the ARD head. That is for the regen of the DPF. But this solenoid, you can probably see it's taped up right here. So these wires were actually melted. Let me get up there and get a better shot. There we go, that's a better shot. So these wires were all melted together. So I separated them and taped it and replaced the fuse. And it worked, but I got this new solenoid now. So I'm gonna replace this, just the coil part. And then I'm gonna see if I can get this out of service lock regen. Okay, there's the coil. Make sure the part number matches, which I think it does. 300. Yeah, because sometimes these coils are different voltages. And I really don't want to figure out what size nut that is. So I just got a Mexican socket set. Oh well, I don't think anybody's gonna care. Okay, so this is the low pressure fuel pump. This hose right here goes up over, it doesn't go directly to the R head, but it's for the after treatment. So that could be part of the problem. So that's all done, and now let's see if we can struggle through Cat ET and figure this out. So hopefully you can hear me, but part of the problem with doing this for Cat, which I'm probably doing it wrong, but so it says that the coolant temperature must be 104 degrees. So you have to warm up the engine, and it has to be at idle. But the stupid alarm goes off the whole time, and it'll only run for like 30 seconds, and you gotta shut it off and restart it because it's at service lockout. Maybe there's another way to do it, I don't know, but it kind of sucks. All right, so we finally got it to start regenning. The noise stopped, and our number here is coming down. So let me explain what happens on this to this particular machine. All right, so this particular machine, it keeps having a low fuel pressure problem. We've cleaned the fuel tank, flushed the fuel tank, I've replaced all the fuel lines, and it plugs up fuel filters. We get maybe 250 hours, if we're lucky, out of fuel filters on this machine. So what happens is it causes, when the low fuel filter restriction, or when the fuel filter restriction light comes on, it causes the after treatment, what do they call it? They call it the after treatment, or it's after treatment number 1, low fuel pressure. So it causes that code, which then kicks out the passive regen. It won't do a regen when that code's active. So what you got to do is you have to clear that code after you replace the fuel filters. Obviously you have to clear that code, and then it goes back into regen. But what you can do is you can use the switch to do the regen. The switch is right here. I'll show you a shot of it. But on these Cat machines, if it gets over, I think it's 120, it might be 118%. If it gets over 120%, it locks out that switch, and you have to use Cat ET to get it to work. So for this particular time, it had that solenoid issue, and the fuse kept blowing for the solenoid, which was causing the low after treatment fuel pressure. So I got the solenoid replaced, and the fuse blew again. I checked the fuse and it was fine, but it must have blew after I changed the solenoid, and I didn't recheck it. But it changed probably because when I pulled that solenoid, the old one, it probably shorted out. But now we got it to going. So it's coming down now. It's 112 now. It was 130. So I just got to let it run. It says the test is here. So it says service time. It's 9% complete. So I just got to let it run and see what happens here. Let me show you that switch really quick. So the switch is right here. It's this switch. So you can hold that switch down to start a regen. There's supposed to be like a card, but I don't see the card anywhere. But after 120%, it locks it out and you have to have ET. So I got it to regen, so now I just gotta wait and see what happens. All right, so success, or service test successful, and we're at 0%. So our status flags, or our active events all went, oops, finish. No, active events all went away. So we're good. This machine is good to go. Just gonna let that machine idle for a minute, just to let it cool down. And then I gotta go look at that loader, which I think is about a half mile that way. I gotta figure that out. All right, so second job here. This is a 624L. And it actually doesn't look like it's that messed up, but if you look closely, you can see it's actually bent this way, probably 3 or 4 inches. You can see this is all messed up. They probably bent it back a little bit, but so I gotta replace this, and then I got all the hardware for that. First thing I'm gonna do is just build it on the back of the truck, and then it's just these 4 bolts. Pretty simple here, shouldn't take too long. Get that fixed. Of course, nobody knows what happened. It was like that when they came in, but somebody probably hit something and just doesn't want to say it. All right, so let's see what we got here. So we obviously got the step. These 2 little rubber pieces, there's one there. They go for the bottom step, which is, they go this way. And this should be the bottom step. And then let's dump out this bag and see what we got in this bag for bolts. Ooh, it's upgraded step. So we got all the hardware, and then we got an upgraded step. It's painted instead of galvanized. So I'm just going to use that one as an example of where all the bolts go. There's some plates and stuff that go in here. So get this together, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. There we go, all fixed, all back together. Looks a lot better. But now we got one other project. There's a 470 over there. The horn button keeps getting stuck. He's pushing the button to honk to the loader, and it just keeps getting stuck. So I gotta go look at it, and then probably go down to John Deere and get a part. All right, looked up the horn button for that 470. They have it in at stock at the John Deere dealer. Ordered that, but first I have to go look at another 470 it's not really close to the John Deere dealer, but it's closer than here. So I gotta look at that first for something leaking, and then maybe get more parts. So let's see what else there is in store. Out here at the next machine, and there's oil everywhere. So I'll show you what it is. Very common problem on these. It's the attenuator O-ring. So this hose right here is what they call the attenuator line. See, it just goes to nowhere. It's like a shock absorber basically for the pump. But you can see right here, the O-ring's blown out for the, so these fittings come loose and then it blows the O-ring out, but what can happen is it can mess this, it can mess up this flange here. I think I actually have a new fitting, but I just usually replace the O-ring. Not that hard, but you can see this one was spraying. Usually they just make a little drip line, but not this one. So let me show you what can happen. So you need a 50 millimeter, and you need an 1 5/8, and you need a big hammer. So this is a fitting off of another 470. But what can happen is this washer here can get bent, and the pressure can force this O-ring through the other side of the washer. So that can happen. And also they can crack right where this O-ring sits. Right, you'll see a crack on the inside right here. That can happen too. But we'll have to take that fitting off and see, but I'm gonna just use this fitting because this one's a good fitting I took off of a machine. It just needs a, new face O-ring right here. Yep, I was right, it's cracked. Check that out, hopefully you can see that. There's a crack all the way, about halfway around. If you can see on the inside any better. Let me see if I can get a light. Hopefully you can see that. There's a crack in there. And then right there, it's cracked almost all the way around. That doesn't happen all that often. Usually it just blows out the O-ring, but the crack is pretty common. It's a kind of a common issue on these 470s. All right, so let's start it up, make sure there's no other leaks. I'm sure that was definitely the problem, but double check it and then set the bucket so we can check for hydraulic oil. Well, the oil level's good. That one's all done. I'm gonna order another one of those fittings so I have it with me, because that's a very common problem on these. But I've never seen one split that bad, but it happens. And it's always that back pump, which I think, I'm probably mistaken, but I think that's pump 1, the one closest to the back. And it must, that's just the one that always seems to leak. Well, let's see what's next. All right, so that one's done. Now I'm gonna go back over to John Deere to get the horn button and all those lights. And then I'm gonna get a new fitting to keep with me, just in case that happens again. So it's getting late in the afternoon, so I don't know if I'm gonna go back up to Denton or not. I will find out. All right, so here at John Deere, got this fitting. This is the fitting that I just replaced on that 470. Any guesses how much this thing was? I can get the box open. It's literally just a fitting in a box. There's nothing special about it. It might be in a Hitachi bag though. That might be why it's so expensive. That's all it is. 16. And I think this is British pipe. $316 for this. But, and I know before you say, well, why don't you just get it from a hose place? Because every time we get them from a hose place, they just don't last. So I don't know if it's just the way it's angled in here, or if it's the type of material, or what it is. But I got one from a hose place for one of the other machines, and I could never get it to stop leaking. It just would leak, or it would blow the O-ring out, or it wouldn't tighten up. So we always get them from Deere. Well, that is the day. I couldn't film that last one. It was just replacing the grip with the horn button and 3 lights. They were working right there, so I couldn't film that. But that's the day. Still got a couple days left till the end of the year, but I'm not gonna be working. So thanks for watching. You know, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and I guess I'll see you guys next year. Thanks for all the support this year. Really grown the channel, and I'm curious to see what's gonna happen for 2024.